Coming up on today's show, we are celebrating fathers as part of our Father's Day series, and you don't want to miss it. We are Hello, darlings, and welcome to Wake Up and Show Up Live. I am your host, Portia Scott, and this is your daily show, giving you a daily dose of inspiration and empowerment. How is everyone doing today? Hello, hello, hello. I must apologize. Yesterday or the other day, we were supposed to go live, but we are here today and tomorrow as part of our Father's Day series. We are celebrating fathers. And so we have an incredible guest today with us. I'm super excited. But before we bring that guest on, I want to know, what are you grateful for? What's going on? How are you guys doing? What are you grateful for? John Henry, thank you so much for joining, darling. Thank you guys for coming in. We are so excited about today's show. I think for me, one of the things that I wanted to make sure I did was that we highlighted some incredible men, and I have the opportunity to know some incredible men, some incredible fathers, and just talk a little bit about their story. What is it like to be a father? Because oftentimes we have these big explosive things for mothers, as we should, but sometimes fathers get left out. And so there are so many men that are out there that are doing amazing things with their children, and I wanted to be able to have a platform to highlight them. So you guys let me know. How are you doing today? How are you doing? What are you grateful for? I think one of the things that I am definitely grateful for is for my own father. So grateful for him, his kindness and his love. And I'm also excited for the father and grateful for the father of my three children, John Henry Scott, as well. So you guys let me know, what are you grateful for? How are things going? So one of the things I want to make sure is that we keep in touch. And the way that we do that is you text the phrase wake up to 31996. That's wake up to 31996 to stay in touch with us. And so before I bring my guest on, I want to make sure, I want to say this quote because I thought it was absolutely incredible and really spoke to the moment as we're going into Father's Day, as we are celebrating our own fathers and also the fathers of our children. And when I think about a dad, when I think about fathers, this encompasses what I think about, what I feel, just from my own father and from the father of my children and the fathers that I have the opportunity to know. One of the things this Sunday, we had the show about men's health, and we talked about fathers then and Father's Day. And so I think that oftentimes we just haven't done such a great job to celebrate men, especially Black men that are in the homes, that are taking care of their children. And so I think it's just so important. So I want to ask each and every one of us, if there's a man in your life, if there's a father in your life, tell him how much you love him. Tell him how great a job he is doing, because we really want to make sure that these are the images that we're seeing, right? And that we control the narratives, because we absolutely know that everything that we see, everything that is often portrayed is not often true. For every single situation. Hello, darling. Hey, Paula. Thank you so much for joining. I'm glad to be back too. I missed you guys so very much. It was a busy week for me. I actually traveled to Texas, but I am back now in Atlanta, and I am pretty much quarantining for the most part. So my family won't kiss me, but that's fine. And when I came back, I had to make sure that I went straight to the shower and did all the great things. So hey, Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining, darling. So I want to bring on our guest for today. He is a very special friend of mine. He is my husband's best friend. And so he's been around the whole time that we've been married. And when we first met, he wasn't married, he wasn't a father, but he comes from a very big family and had always been family oriented. And so when he had his children, it was just a phenomenal thing to see. So I'm going to bring on our guest for today, who is Thomas P. Shipp. He is the father of two adorable girls, Malia and Milani. And so we're going to welcome him on the show, and we're going to talk a little bit about fatherhood. Hey, Thomas.
Hey, Portia, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I am doing great. I'm doing great. I got a little bit of sleep last night because the girls decided to stay up a little bit longer than usual last night, so that let them sleep in, which let me sleep in. So,
That's always good. So, one of the things we do on here, Thomas, all the time, you've been on here, you are not a stranger to the show, is that we always ask, what are you grateful for? So, what are you grateful for?
I think this is probably my third time being on the show, and every time I say the same thing, I'm grateful for my kids. I'm grateful for being a father. Just seeing them every day or just talking to them every day and just seeing them, their smiles, they just lighten me up also. So sometimes when I'm not feeling good and if they walk in the room or come jump in the bed and stick their fingers in my ear while I'm asleep, it's a good feeling. You know, you're still tired, but it's great. So those two right
Excellent.
there equally are my what I'm grateful for.
I love it. I didn't read the quote. I said I was going to, but I didn't. So this is the quote. It says, to her, the name of father was another name for love, Fanny Fern. And I love that. The fact that you have daughters too. So I wanted to bring that out that, to her, meaning to the daughter, the name of father was another name for love, which is, I think, was so powerful because I absolutely
Yes.
feel that way about my own father. Is that when you think about that, you think about love, for me, for my earthly father, but also when I think about my heavenly father, that is so in tuned. And I think that that relationship that we have on earth is supposed to mimic that relationship in heaven, right? With our heavenly father, for us that are believers. And so I want to jump right into this because my first question is really surrounding that, is really, what is the one thing you love about being a father? Like, what is that one thing that you just absolutely love about being, a dad?
I love nurturing them. It's I don't know much I can say, but love nurturing them. I love teaching them and showing them things and seeing that aha moment from them. So, like when I'm teaching Malia, she's reading and I'm helping her sound out words, and when she finally get it, it's that frustration, and she just finally getting this gone. Or the other day, I'm teaching her how to ride her bike without training wheels, and just seeing her get it, just just teaching them, just being there for them, and seeing them go through their frustration. And I'm there to help them. I'm there to pick them up when they're falling off the bike, and I'm tired and I'm sweaty, but I'm still there to catch them when they fall. So that is a big moment for me, just to be there for them, and for them coming to me for the things that they need or want. So
Absolutely. I love it. I have all sisters, so I'm the oldest, and then I have two younger sisters. And I know, my dad wanted a boy, but, it just wasn't in the cards for him. Like my last sister, they thought that she was going to be a boy. So they have finally like hit the jackpot, right, with the boy. So I'm going to ask you, because you have a twin brother, you have brothers and sisters. So you were born around, both. But when you found out that you were having a baby, like, did you ever want like boys? Did you ever want girls? Was that like, because you had both sides, right? So you were able to kind of
mhm.
say, oh,
Yeah, when we found out, when I was married at the time, we found out we was pregnant. Um, I went to the field and I'm out there training and different things like that. And some of the guys like, do you want a boy or a girl? I'm like, look at me. I know I'm having a boy. I know I'm having a boy.
Right, right,
This
right,
is it.
right.
I'm gonna have a boy. And then they was like, when you go to the hospital, they can tell by the heartbeat before they can even see the baby
Hmm.
what you're having. And then
Hmm.
when I went and they said it was a girl, I didn't get upset. I was still excited, and I just started thinking of all the things that I was gonna have to learn how to do. One, doing hair. I was like, oh man, I don't know how to do no girl hair. I don't know how to do this. But but now I wouldn't trade them for the world. I've learned how to do their hair. I wash
You
it.
actually have a picture on like a video on Facebook where you're like, it's like hair day, but you are, let me tell you, you are smart because you have definitely learned because you did one, Malia's one day and Milani's the other day. And so I loved it, but go ahead. So you've learned how to wash hair.
I learned how to wash. And it's crazy, but you'll think it's easier to do the two strand plaits or whatnot, and just get two and just twist it around. But I do the three strand plaits way better than I do the
Hmm.
two strand until I get to
Hmm.
the ends with my fat fingers or whatnot. I can't really get them. But I can. Today's her day again, so once we get off of here,
Hmm.
I'm gonna be doing their hair again. I'm trying to do both of them today, so but I have learned how to do their hair. I can't do no updos and all that, but the little kids' hair, I can do it with no problem. And I did make them an appointment for next week, though. I want to get them in a nice style and take some photos.
That's so sweet. I love it, Thomas. So yes, you wanted a boy. You find out you have these girls. I'm telling you. And then what do you think? Because you said one of the things you love about them is training them, is teaching them, is being able to show them how to ride a bike, but even how to navigate. I say life now because they're so little, but everything in life, right? How to navigate
Yes.
when you're frustrated with your homework because you work with them too during the summer. You guys have your whole little schedule planned out. What is the most
Hmm.
challenging part about being a dad?
I would say also teaching them because when I'm doing schoolwork with them, like it's like you expect them to know.
Ah. Mhm.
So I expect them to know certain things at a certain age, and there's no statistics. I can't even get it out right. Statistics to say that they supposed to know
Right.
these things at a certain age, and I'm like, you don't. And I just be thinking to myself, she's just 5. She just turned 5, so let her grow into it. So I get so that's challenging to me is to seeing her them and thinking that they know things already that I just haven't taught them or they haven't went over in school yet, and I'm thinking that they should know. So I'm just learning to be patient while teaching them, um, because we go over letters with Melania. She's 5, going over letters and numbers on a daily basis. So I either
Mhm.
do one, rotate them so they can do letters, numbers, and then Malia, she is reading and
Mhm.
sounding out her words.
I love
So
it.
I'm not a teacher, so
Right.
I my hats are off to teachers because I get frustrated just trying to teach them how to do things. So,
Yeah.
and when you just said the life lessons in teaching, I'm gonna go to that one too. When I was teaching her how to ride a bike, um, the first thing I had to teach her was how to use the kickstand, and that's
Right,
one of the
right.
lessons that she got to learn in riding a bike that comes along with it. So,
Yeah, I love it. Thomas, you mentioned earlier when I said you found out, and you said you and your ex-wife at the time found out. So you have the girls on different occasions and things like that. And I think there may be somebody watching, a dad that's the same thing, right? That's co-parenting, and trying to make sure that they're doing the best that they can. What are the things that you have in place that to make sure that like you're always at a touch point with the girls, right? Calling or FaceTiming. What are some of those things that you do when they're not with you?
so when they're not with me, we We talk on the phone, FaceTime. I say FaceTime because they don't know about just regular calling. They if when I try to call them, Daddy, we can't see you. Daddy, we can't see you. So they want to see me when they talk to me.
Right.
Um, but talking to them and being consistent, I'm not the guy that called them once a week or twice a week. The girls and I on the phone, um, five, let's say 6 times, 6 days a week, but it'll be multiple times a day also. So, like, especially when they first got out of school during COVID-19, they were, I would call them. And if you're consistent with them, they're consistent with you also. So some of the time, I don't even have to pick up the phone to call them in the morning. They'll pick up the phone to call me. Good morning, Daddy. Or if I didn't call them back soon enough, Daddy, you said you was gonna
Right.
call me back. Malia, we just on the phone 2 minutes ago. Let Daddy finish what he's doing. But just being consistent with your kids, um, and also when they're doing something wrong, you can't be always be the good parent, as you know, as we
That's
say. You have to
yeah.
be a disciplinary through the phone and FaceTime and distance also, so they'll know that you're gonna get on them and correct
Yeah.
them when they're wrong. So
That's such a good
if they're
point, Thomas. I not to cut you off, but I think that's such a good point
mhm,
because when you like you said when you're co-parenting and you're not the parent that has the children at the time, that's kind of your trigger to say, well, I want to be, I don't want to, I want to be more lenient, right? Because I'm not there at the time.
mhm,
So I just love that how you talk to them often, you're consistent, you're loving on them, but then when it's time to be the disciplinary, you're also comfortable with that too, and being able to say,
mhm.
can't do that, So I love that. And how did you kind
I
of
put
find
them on
that?
the
Huh?
I put them in the timeout corner through the phone too.
How did you find that balance? How did you find that balance with, I know, I don't have them at this time. I'm gonna always be, I'm gonna make sure that there's a balance there, right? Where I'm like loving on
Mhm.
them, but I'm also playing the point of the disciplinarian because it's gonna be important for their life, for them. So how do you balance
Yeah,
that?
that started out while I was still married and just being there. So you can't be a part-time dad and be a part-time disciplinary. So it was there from the start, from while we were married and living in the house together to now that they, I get my time with them, but they know the standard. I ain't gonna say the standard, but they need structure. It's just like
Right.
everything else. There got to be some type of structure, and it have to be uh, uh, I'm looking searching for words, but you have to be able to back up the
Right.
parent. So
Mhm.
when the mom says something, the dad have to also say it when they're doing something wrong. So
Right,
that was
right.
their while in the beginning. So it just stayed to where if daddy says something and he's playing daddy, you know daddy's joking, but you also know when daddy's telling you to do
That's true.
something
Yeah,
and it's serious because
because they'll get you.
as a they will get you. And the biggest thing is I don't want me to be telling them something and they not listening or telling them to stop and they don't see what we see when we're out grocery
Right.
shopping or running errands.
Mhm.
So the car that's backing up, they don't see that, but
Yeah,
we have to be vigilant in seeing that as a parent. So you don't want your
yeah.
kids thinking that you're the fun parent and when you're out doing something and you run to run to grab them in a parking lot and they think you're chasing them to play with them and they take off running also. So you don't want
Right,
that. Just to
right,
be
right, right. So
yeah.
having those boundaries. What is, Thomas, that was extremely good. Thank you so much for that. One of the things I wanted, I think about this with my own children. And because we're always running to do more, to give more, to be more. Because for
Hmm.
most of us, a lot of us that have kids, that's part of our why, right? Is making sure that we raise
Hmm.
these productive citizens of society. And so, what is one thing that you want your girls to remember about you? What is that one thing that you want them to remember, to be like? you remember what, and not even that you're dead or anything like that, but just what is that one thing when they get older that they can say, you remember dad used to do this, or you remember this? What is that one thing?
I would say be there,
Yeah.
because being there is consistently being there shows that you love someone. You can't be away and show up for Christmas or um, your weekend or a specific holiday and expect people to love you and remember you for something. They'll remember the gift that you brought, but they won't remember, you as a whole person. But just constantly being there, I want them to know or remember that I was always there for them. I was a teacher for them. I was their parent. I was their disciplinary. I was the first man that they ever just truly loved.
Right.
Um, and I just want them to remember the activities that we've done. So that's why I make so many fun memories with them,
Hmm.
um, and going places with them and carving out time and not being embarrassed to be a father.
That's so good.
That's
What do you
important
mean by
too.
that, Thomas? Like, because you said not to be embarrassed about being a father. For moms, that's never a thing. But I think maybe in different situations it could be. So, what do you mean by that? Like, not being embarrassed to be a dad. I love that.
What I mean by that is being totally you, but also being totally vulnerable. So not being embarrassed by being a dad is when you buy your kids Halloween costumes that they don't wear for Halloween, but you will wear them in the middle of the summer to go grocery shopping. So don't be embarrassed to be a dad, mean going all out for your kids. I bought PJ masks for my kids for Halloween, but then they changed their mind and wanted to be princesses for Halloween. So I had the full PJ Masks costumes here, and I had one of them also, and they wanted to wear them. So I said, I'm gonna wear mine too. Since we got to wear masks, we're gonna wear PJ masks. So I went to the post office, I went to Walmart, and yeah, just to the post office and Walmart, and I walked around in my PJ mask, my blue PJ mask, and the costume with the blue tail, and they was Gecko Girl and Owlette, and you know, you can't be embarrassed to be a dad. So that's what I mean by don't be embarrassed to be a dad.
I
Go out there and
love
cheer for
that.
your kids.
Like just going straight in. I think that's a message not only for fathers, but for mothers too. Um, John is like that. Maddox is so funny. He had the same gecko outfit. And so
Yeah,
I remember he just like they went to go visit a friend and I was like, put him on some clothes. And he was like, no, just let him wear it, and he wore it. And that was like something that he remembers, for sure
yes,
remembers like daddy let me wear that to go see my friend. So I love that. I think that is definitely a point for us as just parents, period, is like almost like
yeah,
be a child with your children, like in that
exactly.
aspect. It's like have the fun, let them be kids. So I love that. What is the most memorable moment you had with your girls?
I think the most memorable. Well, one some of the stuff that I'm doing now is memorable. And what we're doing now is, I go live on Wednesdays and I do my cooking. So now that I've incorporated the girls with me on that, we've made our fruit tacos. We made did a campfire the other day. But just as a single father, um, getting my kids for the summer a few years ago, I come from Kuwait on this long flight. I get my kids and we fly, just me and a what, 2 and a 4-year-old fly to Disney World.
Yeah.
Not too many fathers are just taking a 2 and a 3 or a three and a
Not
four
too
year
many
old to
mothers
Disney
are
World.
taking two and threes to Disney.
Yes.
But yeah.
So we went to Disney World, just me and the girls,
Yeah.
and well, my niece came. She wanted to come too, so I bought her a ticket. And but myself and the girls, we went to SeaWorld also. So during that weekend, we went to SeaWorld one day and to just one portion of Disney World. And
Mhm.
they still talk about that. They still remember that. So just creating memories for them that they will remember, and planning for. I want to take them again once they old enough now to remember, but take them old enough when they're tall enough to get on more of the ride. And I'm not old enough, and I'm still old enough where I can get on the rides with them and not get sick. So that's one of the things I do plan on doing too in the future. Probably within the next 5 years. I'm 40 now. I'm not gonna be
Mhm.
50 years old getting on a roller coaster.
Right,
So
right, right, right. I love
yeah.
that. I think one of the things is that you talk about making memories, and I said, "What's the most memorable thing?" And I love that at the beginning you talked about how you guys are cooking together as part of your Wednesday show, how you guys are going to the post office and to the Walmart with PJ Masks and all of these things. And then I was going to ask you about Disney World because I just think that was a big thing, like to take your. Let me tell you something. Mine are 12 and 6, and I'm still thinking about whether I ever want to take them by myself. But
Yeah.
I just think that that's a big thing to just take two babies. I mean, they were babies at that time to Disney World. But, exactly. There's some fathers that are like, well, I can't do Disney World right now, but you could do Disney World in your living room. Like you said, you guys can cook together. You can get Play-Doh. You
Hmm.
can do all these things. So I love how, yes, you give them these amazing experiences with Disney World and SeaWorld and all the things and places that they've been able to go, but also in those little moments that you guys have together that you're making those memorable. So I appreciate that. That's so good.
Yeah.
I always love to ask, what is one piece of advice that you would give to a new dad, kind of thinking about, actually before I ask this question, I want to know, what was that moment like when you had your girls? That moment when you first see them for the first time. What does that feel like as a father? Like, I know what it feels like as a mom, but what does dad feel like? What does that feel like to you?
It was like truly amazing because for me, um, at the time, like I said, I was married at the time, and she was having complications. So with Malia, I'm not with Malia. It was like super amazing because they were still the doctors were still over attending to Naya at the time, my ex. So Malia and I had to do skin to skin. So that was like really amazing for me as a new father, and I had to do skin to skin with my baby. And that, I'm not saying it's unorthodox and anything like that, but it's usually the mother that's being comforted and comforting and taking in and showing the love for the newborn.
Yeah.
But it was me with Malia, um, and I can see a connection with us now that I see a lot of fathers don't have with their kids. So I'm not saying that they don't and they can't get that connection, but
Mhm.
I can still feel that connection
Yeah.
with well with both of them, but more Malia because I did that I did the bonding time with her, and then Milani, as you know, she was premature,
Mhm.
and I was in Kuwait again. So I ended up having to fly from Kuwait. She was in the incubator for a couple of days. They had to get her body weight up before we can take her home, and they was ready for me to come back to Kuwait. So I petitioned to stay a little longer. They let me stay a little bit longer in Kuwait. I mean, in the states before I had to go back to Kuwait, and I just took care of them and um, loved them as much as I could. As a new father.
Yeah, I love it. And so back to my last question is, what is that one piece of advice that you would give to a new dad? You know, somebody that's like, uh-oh, either the baby's here, baby's on the way, what is just that one
Yeah,
piece of just genuine advice that you would give to him?
I would tell him to be there constantly, constantly be there.
Mhm.
Um, have a plan with the mom, especially if you're married. That's important. If even if you're not married, be there for the mom and the child. Have a plan, and what I mean by a plan is the first 10 days of my kids being born, I was able to have free leave and different things like that in the military. But when it was time for me to go back, we had a plan, and our plan was she took I took care of the kids up until a certain hour. At night, it may have been 1 or 2 o'clock, so she could go to sleep. But then after like 1, maybe 2 o'clock, she would get up and start doing the feeding and changing of the diapers, so I can get up and go to work. So that's one big thing that I would tell them: have a plan that you can, a realistic plan that you can use, because it you can do nobody no good if both parents getting up every time it's time to feed. Both of y'all gonna be tired. So um, sleep when the baby's sleeping.
Yeah, I love it. Thomas, this was so, so very special. I love to see you with your girls. I love the bond that you have with them. I think it's just extremely special. And while sometimes we don't see it, I know it is very common, right? And so that's kind of the
Yeah.
thing is why I wanted to have this Father's Day series is because having fathers around is actually common. I know that we see a lot of different situations, but I can say it from my own standpoint is that the men in my life, the men that I know that are fathers, right? They're there, they're
Hmm.
present, they're active, much like you. And so I just want to one say thank you. Not thank you for being a father, but thank you for I think being a voice, and allowing me to highlight that as a father and to do what you do, because unfortunately, sometimes you guys get a bad rap. And so I just want to make sure that I'm able to highlight those that
Amen.
are out there that are loving on their children, that are amazing and giving us some of that feedback. And while this was definitely dedicated to fathers, there were some things that I was able to take back. So thank you so much for being a guest, Thomas. I appreciate it so much. But before you go, I want to make sure that we know how can we keep in contact with you.
Hey, if y'all want to keep in contact with me and watch me, I have the kids, and my Instagram is just my name, Thomas Shipp, and my Facebook is my name also, Thomas Shipp. I have multiple accounts, so just go to Thomas Shipp, and everything else feeds into that one account. Um, you'll see me on there with the kids. We're doing something every day. If it's doing homework, but that's just how you can just reach me, Thomas Shipp on Facebook or Instagram. If you see multiple accounts, click on any one of them. It's me.
I love it.
That
Thomas, thank you
food,
so much.
photography,
Right, right. Food photography. He does a weekly Facebook Live called
big meals, tiny
Tiny
kitchen,
Kitchen.
and
Yes,
I just
Big Meals Tiny
and I
Kitchen.
I renamed it for the summer, and at the end, Big Meals, Tiny Kitchen, cooking with Daddy. So
Oh, that's so good. So you guys follow Thomas and you can see his Facebook Live shows that he does on Wednesdays. Thomas, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it so very much.
I thank you so much for having me.
All right, take care.
All right, bye bye.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening into that interview. I'm telling you, I was super excited that he agreed to come on the show. You guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your comments. Zetta's on, Chasmine's on, Elizabeth was on, Paul was on, John's on. You guys, thank you so much for listening. So, before we leave, there's just one thing that I want to make sure that you guys are doing, that you head over to YouTube and that you follow us at Portia Scott Media. So if you are in fact on the site, I just put up a comment in the comments. I just put up the link to that YouTube page. We talked about it a little bit on Friday, why we're going to YouTube, but we're gonna continue to stream here for a little bit as we transition over to YouTube. But what we're doing is we are moving over to YouTube, and we want you to come over there with us. So you'll still get the streaming that you'll get. You'll still get the notifications. You'll still get to comment. All of those things happen on YouTube. And so if in fact you'll go over to YouTube and you'll follow us at Portia Scott Media so that you are alerted when we go live. And as we begin the transition, we'll definitely have a date where we will cut it off. As you guys know, after this week, we are going to one show a week, which will be on Mondays. We'll have one show a week, but we also are incorporating these smaller videos that are not necessarily live, but they are still giving you your daily dose of inspiration and empowerment. Of course, we will still have our weekly, like we say, COVID-19 update, which is really being branded. We're newly branding that Wake Up Well. And so we're still going to give you your weekly COVID-19 update, but we're also incorporating some other health measures. So last week we did men's health. It was amazing. If you have not had a chance to watch the show from last Sunday, head over to YouTube. It's on YouTube. Head over to YouTube and watch it there. It is amazing, the content. We will not have a weekly show, a Sunday show this week, but we will return the following week, and we're going to talk about women's health. And listen, if you have questions, give me those questions. We are talking about women's health, all things women's health. And it's important that if you have questions that you let me know, because I want to make sure we answer them on the show. So you guys, thank you so much. Again, head over there to YouTube, follow us at Portia Scott Media. And Chasmin says, sometimes you just got to move on. Girl, that's right. Sometimes you just got to move on. And we are grateful for the community that we have here on Facebook, but we are transitioning over to YouTube. And if you want to hear more about it, you can go to YouTube. And it was Friday's show where we talked about it. And I kind of gave a rundown of what we're doing here at Portia Scott Media. So you guys, I am so grateful for you. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for tuning in as usual. Tomorrow we will be back here. And guess what? We will be back here with yet another father. So this conversation is important. These conversations are needed, and I just want to highlight them and highlight the men that are just doing amazing things. And so we will have another guest tomorrow that we are super excited about. So I hope you tune in. So you guys know we don't end any show without this. We end every show with this declaration. Waking up is automatic. Showing up is intentional. Today we will show up. I'll see you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.